Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt like it was looking back at you? Not watching exactly, not judging or whispering secrets, just us there, silent, still, infinite, as if it had been waiting all day for the lights to go out, so it could softly breathe its ancient stories into the dark. Maybe it was one of those nights when the world felt too loud and you found yourself outside, barefoot on cool stone or grass, the hum of the day slowly fading from your skin. And then you looked up, not expecting anything really, and suddenly you were somewhere else, somewhere older, somewhere deeper, as if the stars had opened a door inside you and gently tugged your thoughts out into the dark. There's something strangely comforting about knowing that those dots of light aren't just pretty decorations sprinkled across a black canvas. Each one is a burning sun impossibly far away, and behind them, even more elusive, are the true giants of the cosmos, entire cities of stars drifting together through space, bound not by roads or rivers, but by gravity. Galaxies. They're not just collections of stars, they're neighborhoods, dynasties, families of light that have been drifting through the cosmos for billions of years. And even though they're too far away to touch, too vast to fully grasp, they're part of the same universe we are. You and I, small as we may feel, live inside one. We're residents of the Milky Way, tucked into a quiet arm of a spiral that's been turning slowly for longer than there's been breath on Earth. Galaxies are not like the stars we wish on. They're not sharp or simple. They don't twinkle. They swirl and stretch and collide and cradle. They're messy and majestic, tangled tapestries of starlight and gas and shadow. And even now, astronomers still whisper to one another across observatories and data feeds, wondering, how exactly do these giants come to be? What winds twist the dust into stars? What invisible hands pull the stars into spirals or scatter them into chaotic clouds? What makes a galaxy more than just a random speckle of light? But before we drift into those questions, it helps to let the mystery settle over us like a blanket. Let's lie back a little further. Let the weight of the day slip off your shoulders. Imagine the sky above as a dome, not of stone or steel, but of time itself. The light reaching your eyes tonight might have left its source before the first tree sprouted on land, before dinosaurs yawned beneath twin moons, before anyone ever whispered a name into the sky. In a way, you're not just looking up, you're looking back. You're seeing history, one photon at a time. And hidden in that history are the soft fingerprints of galaxies. Some are close, like Andromeda, so close we can almost sense its breath on our cosmic skin. Others are faint hints, smudges caught in the corner of a telescope's gaze, barely more than a sigh in the dark. Yet they all carry the same signature: light gathered and glowing, stars dancing in vast orbits, gas coiling like silk, and in the center of many, a quiet darkness, dense and massive and invisible. To understand where galaxies come from, we have to go even further back than their oldest stars. We have to drift past memory itself to a time before form, before stars, before atoms knew how to cling together. The universe began, if begin is even the right word, as a near perfect uniformity, a sea of energy, expanding, cooling, stretching space like dough, rising in a warm kitchen. There were no galaxies then, no stars, not even any light that could travel freely, just potential and silence. But silence doesn't mean stillness. Inside that vast hot fogs were tiny imperfections, not flaws but quirks, little ripples in the density of everything, like wrinkles in a freshly made bedspread, or the slightly deeper spot in the batter that holds just a little more sugar. And those ripples mattered, because gravity, patient, relentless, always pulling, would find them, would gather them, would begin its quiet work. Gravity doesn't shout, it doesn't rush. It waits, and it gathers, and it shapes. Over millions of years, those slightly denser patches grew denser still, pulling in more matter, becoming islands of form in a sea of formlessness. And slowly, those islands would become something new. Clouds of gas would fall inward, collide, compress. Stars would flicker into life, born in clusters like lit candles in a storm. These were the first galaxies, crude, chaotic, but luminous. They flickered like fireflies in a summer field, glowing against the darkness. Small, fragile, but growing. And some of them, like all things with gravity, found one another. They merged, tangled, grew larger, more structured. Some began to spin, their stars settling into swirling disks. Others collapsed into more elliptical shapes, puffed up and jumbled like spilled sugar. No two galaxies were ever quite the same. Some became majestic spirals, with arms like the gentle swirl of cream in coffee. Others became bloated ellipses, glowing like embers left too long in the fire. Still others defied category, irregular and chaotic, as if sculpted by a child with curious hands. But all of them, every single one, came from the same quiet beginning, from the same ancient whispers carried on the breath of expansion. You might wonder why they matter, why it matters how galaxies are born, or what shape they take, or where they drift. But the truth is, we come from them, not metaphorically, not poetically, literally. The atoms in your hands, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all of it was forged in stars. And those stars were born in galaxies. Galaxies are not just distant wonders, they are our ancestors in a cosmic sense. Their stories are our stories, told on a scale so vast that the mind has to soften around the edges just to understand it. So when you lie there, wrapped in blankets, the world fading to a hum, and you wonder what it means to exist, to be small in a universe so large, remember this. You are not separate from the sky. You are not beneath it. You are within it. You are a thread in the same great tapestry. You are stardust with memory, a tiny breathing galaxy of cells, quietly orbiting your own inner sun. And as you drift into sleep, the galaxies keep drifting too, each one a lullaby written in light. The darkness was never truly empty, even in the earliest moments, when the universe was barely a breath old. There were the quiet stirrings of something more, not shapes yet, not stars or galaxies, but patterns, patterns so faint and so distant that even now our most sensitive instruments can only catch their afterglow. But those patterns mattered. They were the wrinkles in the infant universe, the tiny differences in temperature and density that would one day become everything we see and everything we are. Imagine it like this. Picture a vast ocean of mist, stretching in all directions, perfectly even, almost, but not quite. In some places, the mist is just a little thicker, a little heavier. Those places, those slightly denser patches, will pull more mist toward them, not because they want to, not because they think or choose, but because gravity is a law that never sleeps. Like a whisper passed through generations, gravity remembers even the smallest differences, and it builds upon them quietly and without fanfare. That mist, that early cosmic soup, is what the universe was made of after its initial blaze of birth. Hydrogen and helium, drifting freely, hot and glowing, but gradually cooling. The universe was expanding, space itself stretching like the surface of rising dough. But even as it grew, it began to change. Light, which had been trapped in a tangle of particles, finally slipped free. The cosmos became transparent, and in that transparency, we now see the first photograph of the universe, the cosmic microwave background, a faint, ancient glow that maps the earliest whispers of structure, like a fossilized dream preserved not in stone, but in radiation. This wasn't yet the time of galaxies. It wasn't even the time of stars, but it was the beginning of beginnings. Those tiny ripples in the density of space, they didn't disappear. They grew slowly, patiently. The denser regions attracted more matter, and as they pulled material inward, they grew even denser still. It was a feedback loop written into the very fabric of the universe. And all the while, gravity was sculpting, shaping, gathering clouds of hydrogen into larger and larger clumps, setting the stage for the drama of creation. You can think of this phase like a vast cosmic baking process. The ingredients are simple: hydrogen, helium, dark matter, but the oven is enormous, and a recipe takes billions of years. The dark matter, invisible and silent, played its crucial role too. Though we can't see it directly, we know it's there, wrapping galaxies in halos, anchoring the growing clumps with an unseen mass. Without it, the universe as we know it would never have come together. Like scaffolding for a cathedral, dark matter helped shape the structure before the light could fill it. As the clumps grew, they began to fragment. Inside the densest pockets, gas was compressed to the point that the atoms could no longer drift freely. Pressures and temperatures rose until something beautiful happened. The first stars were born. Not quietly, these were giants, short lived and blazing, fusing hydrogen into helium and shining with a light that had never existed before. For the first time, the universe was lit not just by heat, but by starlight. The darkness had a spark. These early stars were different from the ones we see today. They were massive, unstable, and they lived fast. Some of them died in tremendous explosions, supernovae that seeded their surroundings with heavier elements like carbon and oxygen and iron. These explosions didn't destroy the growing structures. In fact, they enriched them, stirred them, fueled the next generation of stars. Like the first wildflowers dropping seeds on a mountain slope, the first stars prepared the way for more complex life. Clusters of stars gathered into larger systems. Gravity stitched them together into bigger and bigger forms. Proto-galaxies, small and chaotic, began to drift and merge. Some collided head-on, sending waves of gas and stars tumbling through one another. Others danced more delicately, spiraling into each other like twin eddies in a river. Over time, the universe became a tapestry of glowing knots and filaments. Galaxies were no longer rare. They were everywhere, glittering like fireflies in a dark field, each one a story of gathering, of struggle, of light born from pressure. And all the while, the universe kept expanding. But expansion didn't mean separation in every place. Locally, gravity still ruled. It whispered galaxies into form, and pulled them into clusters, bound not by borders or fences, but by motion and mutual attraction. Across billions of light years, galaxies continued to drift into being, their shapes shaped by their pasts, by the mergers they endured, the stars they birthed, the gases they hoarded or lost. It's strange to think how much of this happened before Earth even existed, before the sun, before the idea of sleep or dreams or names whispered in the dark. For billions of years, galaxies spun and shimmered in silence, building layers of history in every orbit, every burst of stars. Some galaxies grew massive, hoarding billions of stars in dense elliptical shapes. Others spun into elegant spirals, with arms stretching like dancers twirling in slow motion. Some never found their balance, remaining irregular and scattered like unfinished poems in the sky. And we, you, me, everyone who's ever looked up and wondered, we're part of that story. We live in the echo of those early moments. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, began its journey in that same ancient sea, shaped by the same invisible rules, touched by the same early light. It's a spiral now, calm and generous, but its past is full of fire and movement. It too was born from mist. It too was sculpted by time and pull and the quiet art of becoming. There's a peace in that, a rhythm. Just as your breath rises and falls tonight, just as your thoughts settle and drift, so too did the universe breathe and settle and drift. There's no rush, no sudden leap, only a long, slow unfolding, like petals opening under starlight or waves lapping at a shore you can't quite see. Galaxies don't explode into being. They are shaped layer by layer, event by event, until they are something more than dust. And you, listening now, are doing the same, quietly becoming, quietly gathering, a galaxy in miniature, held by the same laws, made of the same matter, floating not through the vacuum of space, but through the soft darkness of thought, of imagination, of rest. So as the story deepens, and the night wraps itself more closely around you, let yourself drift with it. There's no need to hold on. Just float and listen and let the stars keep spinning. The night deepens around you, and as it does, the universe draws closer, not with urgency, but with quiet familiarity, like the soft turning of pages in a very old book. The stars above, distant as they may seem, have always been part of this story. Their light is ancient, but the thread that links them stretches back even further, to a time when no stars yet burned, and the universe was filled not with light, but with potential. It's a strange and lovely thought that something so vast began from such tiny imbalances, wrinkles in the fabric of the early universe, so subtle you might miss them if you blinked across eternity. But gravity doesn't blink. It doesn't forget. Those gentle ripples in the early cosmic mist became the places where matter gathered most greedily. Not like a storm, not like a flood, but more like dew collecting on a spider's web at dawn, patiently, delicately, drop by drop. From those early gatherings, clouds of hydrogen swelled, drawn by gravity's soft hand. In time, the densest clouds began to collapse inward until pressure and temperature crossed a quiet line, and then light, not reflected light, not borrowed glow, but light born from within, the very first stars, flickering into existence in the dark, like embers in a long forgotten forest. These stars were the ancestors of everything that would follow. They weren't like the sun, you know. They were giants, vast, hot, and brief, living fast and dying young in dazzling supernovas that tore them apart and scattered their innards into the surrounding space. And from their deaths came gifts, heavier elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, the same ones that would someday form bones and rivers and thoughts. These early stars didn't just shine, they sowed. Their explosions enriched the surrounding gas, seeding it with the ingredients for the next generation of stars. And when those new stars formed, they were more complex, more colorful, more capable of forming planets and stories. It's like watching a field go through seasons. First the bare soil, then wild blossoms, then the dropping of seeds, the settling of earth, and the quiet readiness for the next bloom. Galaxies, in their earliest form, were fields like this, blooming not with petals, but with light. And as these star fields expanded, they grew restless. They wandered, drawn by mutual attraction, by the irresistible pull of nearby companions. Sometimes these proto galaxies passed each other in the night like ships in fog. Other times they collided, their gas and stars tangling like the roots of old trees, merging into larger, more stable systems. There was no violence in this, not in the way we think of it, just a kind of deep choreography, a slow motion ballet of dust and gravity. From these gatherings, the first true galaxies began to form, not chaotic clumps, but coherent structures, glowing, rotating, evolving. Some became elegant spirals, their arms unfurling like ribbons caught in a breeze. Others puffed into bloated ellipses, all motion hidden in the blur. And still others remained irregular, like abstract paintings left half finished. Each shape told a story, not just of its current state, but of all the interactions, the collisions, the quiet gravitational embraces that shaped it. It's comforting, in a way, to know that galaxies don't emerge in perfection. They're shaped by what happens to them, by the paths they take, by the others they meet. Even their chaos has purpose. Even their flaws are part of what makes them beautiful. And here, among these drifting giants, is where something quietly wondrous began. As galaxies stabilized, some of them developed centers, places of unusual density, where stars orbited faster, tighter, and in some of those centers, something truly mysterious formed, black holes. Not just any black holes, but supermassive ones, millions or even billions of times heavier than the sun. No one fully knows how they came to be so early or so large. It's one of the universe's lingering questions, whispered late at night in observatories and quietly puzzled over by astronomers in slippers with mugs of tea. But there they are, nestled at the heart of many galaxies, invisible and silent, yet shaping everything around them. They don't shine themselves, but when gas spirals into them, it heats up, glows, sometimes blazes so brightly that the center of a galaxy can outshine all its stars combined. These are quasars, lighthouses of the young universe, blinking through cosmic fog, telling us that even the darkest places can give rise to the brightest beacons. And still, galaxies kept changing. Each encounter, each merger, each burst of star formation left fingerprints behind. Spiral arms became more pronounced. Ellipticals grew fatter. Irregulars sometimes found symmetry, and symmetry sometimes fractured into chaos. There was no single path to beauty, no single destiny written in the stars. Even now, billions of years later, galaxies continue this dance. They drift, they collide, they merge and morph. The universe never finished its painting. It's still adding strokes, still adjusting shadows, still letting color bloom in unexpected corners. And we, tiny and temporary, have the rare privilege of watching it happen, of listening to the echoes, of learning the names of the brushstrokes. Sometimes, late at night, you might feel the weight of it, the bigness, the strangeness, the mystery. But let that weight settle gently. It's not here to crush you, it's here to cradle you, to remind you that you are part of something vast and ancient and beautiful, that the atoms in your hands were forged in the hearts of stars that lived and died before Earth was even a dream, that every breath you take is steeped in the stories of galaxies. And so, as the night holds you a little closer and your thoughts begin to slow, remember that the universe is not a place you visit. It's where you've always been. You are not on the edge of it, not an outsider looking in. You are woven into it, made from its threads, drifting gently through its currents. And somewhere, far above or far within, galaxies are being born still, from whispers, from ripples, from the soft breath of gravity. It's a curious kind of magic, isn't it? That something as invisible and intangible as gravity could shape the entire universe. It doesn't flash or burn. It doesn't make sound or light. It simply waits, pulls, persists, and in that persistence it becomes one of the most powerful forces we know. While stars shimmer and burst, and galaxies swirl in luminous arcs, gravity stays hidden behind the curtain, whispering the choreography that everything follows. If light is the painter of the cosmos, then gravity is its sculptor, not with hammers or chisels, but with endless patience. A soft and relentless tug, always inward, always a gathering. And from that gathering, forms emerge. Clouds collapse, stars ignite, galaxies take shape. It never demands, it only nudges. But those nudges, over time, become destinies. Picture a vast cloud of gas floating in space. It might drift for millions of years, undisturbed. But if a small region within it becomes just a little denser than the rest, perhaps stirred by the ripple of a passing shock wave or the quiet passage of a nearby object, gravity begins its work. That region will pull a little more gas toward itself. As it gains mass, its pull strengthens. More matter falls in. The process snowballs. And eventually, the cloud begins to collapse under its own weight. This is the cradle of a galaxy, not a sudden birth, but a slow folding inward, like a bedsheet falling into itself, like morning fog curling into valleys. As it collapses, the cloud begins to spin, not because anything pushes it, but because the laws of physics are surprisingly elegant. Even the slightest twist becomes amplified as the cloud shrinks, just like an ice skater pulling in her arms and spinning faster. And so the galaxy begins to swirl. This spin, this rotation, becomes one of the defining features of many galaxies. It helps explain the majestic spiral arms, gently curving through space like wind-blown streams of silk. But it also helps with stability. Spinning galaxies are harder to pull apart. They carry momentum, like dancers twirling in perfect balance. The stars within them don't fly off into space. They orbit, held in place by the balance between their forward motion and gravity's inward pull. Yet not all galaxies spin this way. Some are more like great ellipses, puffed up, smooth, rounded. Their stars move more randomly, like bees in a meadow rather than cars on a racetrack. These elliptical galaxies may have started as spirals, or they may have been born from colossal collisions, the results of two galaxies merging and shaking their structures into something new. They tend to be older, quieter, filled with ancient stars, and little gas left for new beginnings. Then there are the irregulars, galaxies that defy symmetry, lopsided, scattered, unpredictable. They are often smaller, and their shapes can be the result of gravitational encounters, interactions with larger neighbors, or the chaotic nature of their own births. But even in their disorder, they shine. Their stars glow. Their clouds swirl. Their stories unfold like any other. No matter the shape, every galaxy is bound together by gravity's invisible hand. And not just the gravity of the stars and gas that we can see, but the gravity of something darker, dark matter. A strange and silent presence that doesn't shine, doesn't absorb light, doesn't speak in any of the ways we're used to. But it has mass, it pulls, and that pull makes itself known. When astronomers measure how galaxies rotate, they find something puzzling. The outer regions spin much faster than expected. According to the visible mass, the edges should lag, drifting slowly like the outer arms of a merry-go-round. But they don't. They fly, and the only way to explain this is to imagine that there's more mass than we can see, an invisible halo of matter cocooning the galaxy, keeping everything in place. This dark matter doesn't interact with light. It slips through us like a ghost, yet it outnumbers ordinary matter by a wide margin. For every star, planet, or atom you can see, there is several times as much dark matter shaping the dance from the shadows. It's eerie, yes, but also beautiful. The universe is full of things we cannot see, and yet they shape us, just like memories, just like gravity. And as galaxies gather, their gravity reaches beyond their boundaries. They cluster together in groups and superclusters, connected by threads of dark matter that stretch across the cosmos, like the roots of a forest beneath the soil. These filaments form the cosmic web, the large-scale structure of the universe. Galaxies don't float alone in a void. They live on strands and nodes, woven into a pattern so vast it takes billions of light years to see. Even our own Milky Way is part of this web. It belongs to a small cluster called the local group, along with its neighbors, the Andromeda Galaxy, the Triangulum Galaxy, and dozens of smaller satellites. They're bound together, slowly moving, slowly changing, drifting through the universe like leaves in a gentle current. And at the heart of that motion is gravity, always gravity, tugging quietly at every edge. Sometimes we think of gravity as harsh, as what causes things to fall, to crash, to end, but it's also what holds things close, what builds structure, what gives the cosmos its architecture. It is a force of connection, and in galaxies, we see the result of its patient art. Grand designs written not with ink or stone, but with stars and silence. Think just for a moment about your own life. The quiet pulls that have shaped you, the invisible forces, not of physics, but of feeling, that drew you to people, to moments, to memories. We are shaped by what draws us in, by the soft hands that hold us, even when we can't see them. In that way, maybe we're not so different from galaxies after all. So as your breath slows and the hush of sleep approaches, imagine those swirling star cities still drifting through space. Imagine their spiral arms slowly turning, their cores glowing, their histories stretching back to the moment the universe began to cool. Imagine gravity still at work, building the universe not with speed, but with serenity. A sculptor whose masterpiece is never finished, a whisper that never fades. They were not majestic, not at first. The earliest galaxies were fragile, faint, and flickering like shy candles on a vast black sea. If you could have seen them then, those newborn galaxies, they would have looked more like scattered patches of glowing mist than the tidy spirals or brilliant ellipses we marvel at today. But even in their clumsiness, they were alive, full of motion, full of fire, full of quiet promises waiting to unfold. These were the universe's first glowing cities, not built from bricks or blueprints, but from gas, gravity, and light. They formed in a cosmos still young, still echoing with the soft hum of its own birth. And yet, somehow, these fragile clumps of hydrogen and helium began to organize themselves, to flicker, to shine. Stars, like those we know, were beginning to emerge in clusters, not one by one, but in tangled bursts, sparked by the collapse of gas within these galactic cradles. They ignited quickly and burned hot. Many were enormous, more massive than anything we see today, and they lived short, luminous lives. Their ultraviolet light pierced through the remaining fog that still veiled the cosmos, slowly burning away the haze and revealing the contours of the early universe. This was the epoch of reionization, a time when light, for the first time, could travel freely across vast distances. Imagine the universe as a darkened room filled with smoke, and these early galaxies as tiny lanterns flickering to life one by one. Their glow gradually cleared the fog, lifting the veil, letting the universe breathe in starlight. And as they shined, they called out to others, not in sound, but in gravity, the universal language. The early galaxies, small and chaotic, did not remain solitary for long. They drifted toward one another, drawn by their mutual pull, sometimes gently, sometimes violently. Two galaxies colliding might sound catastrophic, but in truth, it's a slow and intricate dance. Stars, for the most part, pass each other with room to spare, like dancers brushing sleeves in the dark, but the clouds of gas, the threads of dust, those do collide, they stir, they compress, they ignite. Mergers between galaxies often sparked immense episodes of star formation, what astronomers call starbursts. Like sudden fireworks in the sky, thousands, sometimes millions, of new stars were born in a cosmic instant. These events left behind luminous fingerprints, hot, glowing regions, bridges of starlight connecting galaxies, and long curling tails of stars pulled out by gravity's slow embrace. Some of these collisions transformed shapeless clouds into structured spirals. Others turned elegant spirals into bloated ellipticals. Still others birthed entirely irregular forms, galaxies that seemed to scatter their stars like spilled sugar across a black table. But even when form was lost, life was not. Each collision added complexity, added mass, added motion. The galaxies grew not just in size, but in story. Think of how rivers converge. One stream meets another, then another, twisting and turning, until a wide, deep current forms. Galaxies were no different. What began as modest trickles of gas and starlight became, through countless interactions, mighty rivers of stars, winding through the expanding cosmos. And even as they collided, merged, and morphed, They carried with them the memory of their origins, the quiet seeds sown by those first ripples after the Big Bang. There's something strangely comforting in that, isn't there? That growth is not always clean or symmetrical. That beauty can arise from chaos, from imperfection, from encounters that stir rather than destroy. The early universe was not gentle, but it was generous. It allowed galaxies to bump and bend, to be reshaped, to try again. And in those trials, the structures we admire today began to take form. Somewhere in that primordial fog, the galaxy that would become our own Milky Way began its long journey. At first, just a dense clump of gas, a gathering place for stars. It was not yet the sweeping spiral we know. It had no name, no arms, no sun, but it was there, being shaped by gravity, by light, by the collisions that nudged it into being. Over billions of years, it too would grow, would merge, would spin. These first galaxies, though distant in both time and space, are still with us in a way. Their starlight has crossed the abyss of billions of years to reach our telescopes. We don't just imagine them, we see them. Their faint glow, captured in deep sky images, is not from a moment ago, but from an age when the universe was young and galaxies were still learning how to shine. Some of those ancient galaxies, some have names now. Messy ones, like GN-Z11, or poetic ones, like the Sparkler. We catalog them, measure them, marvel at them, but no name can truly capture what they are. Snapshots of cosmic adolescence, frozen in time. When we look at them, we look not just across space, but across history. We are seeing the past, watching the universe write its early chapters in glowing ink. And what's even more remarkable is that we can see them at all. That photons, tiny packets of light, could travel uninterrupted for billions of years, dodging dust, passing through time, and eventually landing gently on a detector here on Earth. It's as if the universe wrapped a message in light, tossed it into the great ocean of time, and waited patiently for us to find it. That light is old, older than our planet, older than our sun. It carries within it the fingerprint of the cosmos when it was still finding its voice. And in those fingerprints, we read stories, we measure distance, we study composition, we trace movement, we learn, but we also feel. There's something deeply human about gazing into the deep sky and realizing that those tiny smudges of light are entire galaxies, and that some of them, faint and misshapen, are the ancestors of everything we know. That from such small and shaky beginnings came the grand spirals, the glowing giants, the starry oceans that fill our telescopes and dreams. And so, as your eyes grow heavy and the weight of the day begins to fade, let your mind wander there, to the early universe, to the flicker of first galaxies finding their form, to the quiet birth of light in a sea of shadow. Let the hush of cosmic infancy lull you, the slow breath of galaxies drifting through time and merging like lovers beneath a silver sky. They are still out there, those ancient lights, those gentle beginnings, and they will keep drifting, keep glowing, long after our thoughts have gone quiet. They were the first to open their eyes in the darkness, the first to shine, the first to whisper that from even the faintest glow, beauty can be born. If you could slow time until it moved like molasses, until a single second stretched into centuries, you'd witness something most eyes never see. Galaxies moving toward each other, not as crashes, but as slow, deliberate dances. It happens over billions of years, too slow to feel, too vast to grasp in one glance. But the rhythm is there, always has been. A kind of choreography etched into the cosmos, where galaxies drift into one another like old friends reuniting after lifetimes apart. When two galaxies meet, it isn't like a car accident, sharp and sudden. It's more like tides blending in a bay, like fog meeting fog, like two breaths becoming one in the quiet between words. Their stars, separated by such vast distances, rarely collide. Instead, they slide through one another, their orbits distorted, their patterns rewritten. The real collisions happen between the clouds, the massive, misty expanses of hydrogen gas that fuel the formation of stars. These clouds crash and collapse, igniting a frenzy of birth, a cosmic bloom. In these moments, galaxies don't just survive, they awaken. Imagine two dancers twirling through a ballroom that spans light years. Their gowns are spun from starlight, their arms extended in spirals of dust and time. As they draw closer, their steps become entangled, their shapes stretch, elongate, spin outward. Streams of stars are pulled away, long luminous trails like veils unraveling in slow motion. These are tidal tales, ghostly bridges of matter that link galaxies as they waltz and whirl and eventually merge into one. And in the heart of this embrace, new stars are born. Starbursts flare in the compressed gas, lighting up the galaxy like fireworks reflected in deep water. Entire stellar nurseries spring into life, filled with infant suns and swirling protoplanetary disks. It's as if the galaxies, in their joining, remember how to create again, not just structure, but sparkle. Over time, the two dancers merge into a single form. They may lose their elegant spiral arms or their orderly rotation. They might swell into a more rounded shape, an elliptical galaxy glowing with age and richness. Or, if the conditions are just right, a new spiral may emerge, arms slowly reforming from the remnants of the old, a second chance drawn from cosmic memory. These collisions are not rare. In fact, they are a vital part of a galaxy's growth. Most large galaxies have been shaped again and again by mergers. Even our own Milky Way is no stranger to the celestial choreography. It has swallowed smaller galaxies over its lifetime, their stars now part of its halo, their identities gently folded into ours. The thick disk of the Milky Way, the globular clusters trailing its edges. These are echoes of ancient dances, remnants of partners long ago embraced, and it's not finished. On the distant horizon of time, another encounter awaits, a meeting with the Andromeda Galaxy. Now a faint smudge in the sky, Andromeda is moving toward us, pulled by gravity across the gap of 2 million light years. In about 4 billion years, the two galaxies will merge, not violently, but with that same slow, intricate grace. Their stars will pass each other like whispers, their gases will swirl and collide, and over time, a new galaxy will be born from their union, a larger, more luminous blend of both lineages. Some astronomers already call it Milkomeda. Others simply smile, knowing the name doesn't matter as much as the moment. There's a quiet lesson in this, that even in collision, there can be beauty. That loss of shape doesn't mean loss of meaning. Galaxies change, evolve, grow not despite their entanglements, but because of them. There's elegance in the messiness, in the arms stretched thin, in the spirals that become ellipses, in the stars flung far from their homes. In space, as in life, sometimes closeness remakes us, and sometimes In these mergers, even stranger things awaken. The supermassive black holes that lie at the heart of many galaxies, usually quiet, content, slowly feeding, can flare to life. As gas is funneled into the center during a collision, it spins inward toward the black hole, heats up, and radiates incredible energy. The galaxy becomes an active nucleus, a quasar, a lighthouse in the dark that can outshine its entire host. From stillness, brilliance. From union, revelation. These are not explosions in the way we think of them, they're illuminations. The black hole itself remains invisible, a silence in the center of the storm, but the matter around it, the gas and dust spiraling inward, glows with fury and light, revealing the hidden architecture of the galaxy's core. It's as though, in the moment of merger, the galaxy reveals its heart. Even long after the dance has ended, the signs remain. Shells of stars and delicate arcs, extended tails, disrupted orbits. These are the scars and signatures of a galactic past. Astronomers can read them like fingerprints, tracing the history of interactions across billions of years. In every distorted shape, there is a story, and in every story, a reminder that creation is rarely clean. When we look at these colliding galaxies through telescopes captured in frozen frames, they seem to pulse with energy. The antennae galaxies, locked in embrace, the tadpole galaxy with its luminous tail stretched across the sky, the mice galaxies, each drawn out by the other's pull. They look like art because they are art, drawn not by hand, but by gravity, motion, and time. You might think the stars would be disturbed, that planets would be scattered, that life could not survive such turbulence. But remember, the scale is so immense that even during a merger, most stars are untouched. The distances are so great, the dance so gentle, that what looks like chaos is often more graceful than we imagine. Entire solar systems may glide through these encounters unaware, the night sky above them slowly changing, constellations shifting across eons. And so galaxies drift and meet and become more than they were. Not because they tried, not because they planned, but because the universe encourages motion, invites contact, allows shape to arise from interaction. It's a quiet kind of hope, the idea that something new can come from union, that the meeting of paths can birth brilliance. As you lie beneath your own spiral sky, know that you are part of that same unfolding, that the atoms in your body were stirred in ancient starbursts, that the iron in your blood was forged in collisions like these. You carry the echoes of dances older than Earth, the music of merging galaxies pulsing faintly in your veins. And as you drift into sleep, the dance continues, galaxies turning, approaching, embracing, slowly, silently, it's reshaping the sky. There's a quiet center in most galaxies, a place where light dims, where stars begin to orbit a little faster, where space itself seems to curve inward just a little more. It doesn't blaze or flicker like the stars do. It doesn't shout its presence, but it's there, massive, invisible, and waiting. The heart of a galaxy is not made of light, but of silence. And in that silence lives a mystery older than memory, a supermassive black hole. It sounds ominous, like something to be feared, but it's not what you think. It's not a vacuum sucking up the galaxy, or a monster devouring stars like snacks. It's more like a sleeping giant, curled gently at the center, holding everything around it in a subtle grip. It rarely feeds, rarely stirs, and yet its presence shapes the motion of stars, the flows of gas, the architecture of the galaxy itself. The black hole at the center of our Milky Way has a name, Sagittarius A, though it doesn't need one. It sits in the middle of the galaxy, about 26,000 light years from where we lie, quietly orbiting in our arm of stars. For the most part, it is dormant, quiet. You could fly past it in a spaceship and see nothing, feel nothing, unless you crossed too close. It does not announce itself, and yet, around it, stars whirl at astonishing speeds, moving so fast, so tightly curved in their orbits, that we can tell something invisible and incredibly heavy must lie at the center. Millions of suns worth of mass, packed into a point no larger than the orbit of Mercury. No one knows exactly how these black holes form. Were they born with the galaxies? Did they grow over time, fed by gas and starlight? Or did they arise from ancient collisions of giant stars in the very beginning? Some theories suggest they grew from the collapse of the first, most massive stars, those brief giants that lit up the young universe. Others think they formed directly from enormous clouds of gas collapsing inward before any stars could form at all. Whatever the path, the result is the same, a mass so dense that not even light can escape its pull. And yet, paradoxically, black holes can be some of the brightest objects in the universe. Not because they glow, they don't, but because of what happens just outside them. When matter spirals inward, falling toward the event horizon, it compresses and heats up. Friction and gravity cause it to blaze with X rays and ultraviolet light, forming an accretion disk, a bright, hot whirlpool of gas circling the black hole like water swirling down a drain. If enough matter falls in, the entire galaxy can light up. We call this an active galactic nucleus, and when it's at its most luminous, we call it a quasar. Quasars are lighthouses from the deep past. They shine from the edges of time, their light crossing billions of years to reach us. When we look at them, we see the universe as it was when it was young, chaotic, still building itself. Some quasars outshine all the stars in their host galaxies combined, their light flickering like beacons in the fog of early space. And behind that light, always behind, a black hole, patiently turning, consuming the feast of gas and dust offered by cosmic time. But most black holes are quiet. Most are not devouring, not flaring. They wait, content, like sleeping embers beneath the hearth. Their presence is known not by the light they give off, but by the way they move things around them. Stars curve and speed up near their centers. Clouds of gas ripple in their presence, and the whole galaxy, from its outer arms to its core, carries the quiet echo of the heart within. It's a strange kind of symmetry that something invisible can shape something so grand, that the unseen can guide the seen, that darkness can give form to light, and yet it mirrors so much of what we know from life itself. How the things we don't see, gravity, memory, feeling, often hold us in place far more than what's visible. These central black holes don't just anchor the galaxy physically, they may play a role in shaping its growth. Some scientists believe that the energy they release when active helps regulate star formation, heating the surrounding gas and preventing too many stars from forming too quickly. Like a conductor in a quiet orchestra, they set the pace, not by playing, but by guiding. And it's not just supermassive black holes that fill the universe. Smaller ones, remnants of massive stars, are scattered throughout galaxies like sleeping stones. They drift through space, unseen unless something stumbles too close. But it's the giants in the center, the silent kings of galactic realms, that hold our deepest fascination. They are paradoxes, nothing and everything, emptiness with mass, darkness that defines the light. If you could stand near one, not too close, just close enough to feel its pull, you wouldn't see a thing. Just a darkness in the field of stars, a place where light bends, where time stretches, a region of space where direction becomes meaningless, where the path inward is a one-way street. But if you turned away, you'd see beauty, a glowing disk, arcs of gas, stars caught in tight orbits, racing like comets caught in a whirlpool. A ballet performed in silence, every move dictated by the gravity of the unseen. And so it is with galaxies. Spirals may dazzle us, starbirth may excite us, mergers may impress us, but always at the center lies a quiet truth, a black hole, dark and dense, pulling gently, patiently shaping the story without ever needing to be seen. It's humbling to know that the most powerful objects in the universe are also the quietest, that their influence isn't always explosive, that sometimes power means presence, stability, a silent reminder that not everything real must be visible, and not everything bright must be loud. So as you settle into sleep and your breath slows, think of that galactic heart beating quietly behind curtains of stars. Think of the black hole, not as a destroyer, but as an anchor, a center of calm in the spinning dance of stars. The galaxy turns because something holds it. The stars drift in graceful orbits because something keeps them steady. And you too have such centers, quiet places within you that hold your own galaxies together, places you can't always see, but that shape you nonetheless. Let them be still now. Let the gravity of rest pull you inward. The stars will keep turning. The galaxies will keep spinning. And in the center of it all, something quiet will keep holding everything in place. There's a kind of poetry in the way spiral galaxies unfurl, a calm grace that feels almost deliberate. Their arms stretch outward like strokes of a brush across dark velvet, each curve a gentle swirl of stars, dust, and gas. If galaxies had a gesture, a way of opening themselves to the universe, it might be this, the slow, turning spiral. A motion that feels both ancient and eternal, as if time itself decided to move in circles and left behind a signature in the sky. The Milky Way is one of these spirals, a grand rotating disk turning silently in the dark. From far away, we would see it as a glowing pinwheel, its arms glowing with the light of billions of stars. But from within, here on Earth, we can only see fragments, a band of soft light stretching across the night, dense and dusted with stars, like powdered sugar spilled across a black table. We live in one of those arms, the Orion arm, not at the center, not at the edge, but somewhere between, drifting with the quiet spin. But how do these spirals form? Why do galaxies take on such a shape, such symmetry, such softness? The answer lies once again in motion, in gravity's quiet persuasion, and in the way matter moves through space when it's allowed to swirl. Imagine a disk of stars and gas, all orbiting the center of the galaxy, each at its own distance and speed. The stars closer to the core move faster, tugged more strongly by gravity. Those further out move more slowly, like dancers at the outer edge of a grand carousel. If all the stars kept their places, you'd see a solid rotating wheel. But galaxies are not rigid. They are loose, dynamics, flexible. Stars shift, gas flows, and that flow leads to patterns. Now imagine a ripple moving through this disk, a wave of density, like a traffic jam on a highway. Cars bunch up, slow down, then spread out again, but the jam itself moves down a road. In a galaxy, stars and gas behave the same way. The spiral arms are not fixed structures. They are waves, density waves, rippling through the disk, where stars slow slightly as they pass through, bunching up, glowing more brightly. Then they continue on, leaving the wave behind. It's a beautiful illusion. The spiral arms look like the limbs of a spinning body, but they are more like standing waves on a pond, patterns created by the flow of countless particles responding to invisible tides. And in these arms, where matter gathers, new stars are born. Gas clouds compress as they pass through, collapsing under their own gravity, igniting fresh light. That's why the spiral arms are so bright. They are filled with young stars, blue and hot and burning brightly before they age and drift away. Over time, these stars leave the arms and continue their orbits around the galactic center, like dancers stepping off stage. But new ones take their place, and so the arms stay lit, always moving, always renewing. The galaxy turns, the wave rolls on, and the stars continue to follow the rhythm written into space. Some galaxies have tight, neatly wound arms. Others are looser, more relaxed. Some have just two broad spirals, others many, fainter, more fragmented. The number and shape of the arms depend on many things: the mass of the galaxy, its rotation speed, past interactions with other galaxies. Some spirals are grand and open, like the pinwheel of Messier 101. Others are flocculent, a word that means woolly, patchy, a little disorderly, like fragments of spiral patterns stitched together without symmetry. And in the center of many spiral galaxies is a bulge, a dense swarm of older stars packed tightly near the core. Sometimes this bulge is spherical, sometimes it's bar shaped, a feature found in barred spiral galaxies, like the Milky Way. These bars act like stellar conveyors, funneling gas toward the center, feeding star formation, and sometimes even the supermassive black hole that lies waiting there. Spiral galaxies are not eternal. Their shapes can be altered, eroded, or lost altogether. Mergers with other galaxies can disturb their structure, scatter their stars, puff them up into elliptical forms. But while the spiral lasts, it offers a kind of quiet order, a rhythm, a pattern of becoming. And while they turn, these galaxies are not alone. Many are surrounded by smaller satellite galaxies, like moons orbiting a planet, or children circling their parents' knees. These companions can tug on the arms of the spiral, stir up waves of motion, leave imprints that ripple through the disk like soft echoes. Even distant galaxies can affect one another with gravity's long reach, pulling, nudging, reminding each other that in the universe, nothing is truly isolated. In the spaces between the arms, the inner arm regions, things are quieter. The stars are older, dimmer, more evenly spread. The gas is thinner. There's a sense of calm here, a resting place between the bursts of energy and light. And even this pattern, this alternation between activity and rest, mirrors something human, the way we move through life in waves, in bursts, in cycles of energy and pause. Sometimes we think of galaxies as distant and disconnected from us, but the truths they hold are not foreign. They speak of flow, of balance, of the power of quiet forces. The arms of a spiral are not separate lines, they are part of a whole, expressions of movement, born from a center and extended outward, like breath, like thought, like time. You might find it soothing to know that these galaxies don't hurry. A single rotation can take hundreds of millions of years. The Milky Way has only made a few full turns since it was born, and yet, in that slow dance, it has formed billions of stars, built planets, sparked life, and carried us all along for the ride. There's a kind of security in that slowness, a reassurance. The galaxy turns, unbothered by haste, untouched by urgency. Its arms stretch outward, not reaching for anything, but simply unfolding, like petals warmed by sunlight. And we, small as we are, drift gently within one of those arms, cradled by stars, breathing in rhythm with the quiet spiral of space. So as the night deepens and your thoughts begin to blur, imagine the arms of the Milky Way curling around you, not tightly, not with force, but with a calm grace. Imagine the stars like lanterns along a winding path, flickering softly as you walk. Imagine the whole galaxy turning, just once, over the span of your dreams. Not all galaxies dance in spirals. Some have long since lost that elegance, the soft sweep of curving arms, the youthful shimmer of newly born stars. Others never had it at all. The universe, for all its patterns and harmonies, allows for many kinds of beauty. Some galaxies are rounded and hazy, glowing like lanterns behind frosted glass. Some are elongated, like quiet ellipses hung in space. Some are lopsided and strange, like a splash of ink on a wind-blown page. But each, in its shape, carries a history, not of symmetry but of experience. The shape of a galaxy is its memory made visible. Its contours hold the story of its past, the encounters it has weathered, the stars it has raised, the paths it has followed through time. While spirals are like songs of youth, full of motion and starbirth, elliptical galaxies are older, slower, more settled. Their stars move not in ordered circles, but in more random paths, like bees drifting through a summer garden. They have little gas left. Few new stars form within them. Most of their light comes from older stars, glowing warmly but faintly, like embers in the fading dusk. These elliptical galaxies can be massive, far more so than spirals. Some are bloated giants, containing trillions of stars. Others are small, compact, faint smudges that hide in the shadows. Many began life as something else entirely, as spirals or irregulars, their shapes transformed by time, by mergers, by the gentle erosion of gravitational tides. It's not a loss, but a transformation, a letting go of motion, a settling into stillness. Then there are lenticular galaxies, quiet hybrids between the spirals and the ellipticals. They look like disks from afar, flattened like pancakes, but without the sweeping arms. Their gas is thin, their star formation low. They seem paused, so it's not beginning, not ending. Galaxies in a kind of middle age, still turning, but slowly. Perhaps once they had spirals, perhaps once they danced, but something changed, and they softened into silence. And then there are the irregulars, galaxies that refuse to follow any pattern, whose shapes defy classification. Some are chaotic, scattered, their stars flung like confetti across space. Others are distorted by gravity, pulled into asymmetry by the influence of nearby galaxies. Some were never large enough to settle into a clear form. Others were disrupted before they had the chance. But even in this disorder, there is life. Many irregulars are rich in gas, bursting with new stars, burning with youthful energy. They may look unruly, but they are vibrant, pulsing with the raw materials of creation. It might help to think of galaxies as individuals, not perfect objects, but evolving beings, shaped by what they encounter. A spiral may lose its arms in a collision, its stars scattered. An elliptical may grow larger by swallowing others. An irregular may one day settle, quieted by time. Their shapes are not judgments. They are reflections, soft impressions of the paths they've wandered. And just as no two people are shaped the same way, no two galaxies are truly alike. Even when they resemble each other from afar, their inner structures differ. The distribution of stars, the richness of gas, the darkness of dust, the spin of their motion, all combine to give each galaxy a unique identity, a fingerprint written in starlight. Astronomers have tried to sort galaxies, to organize them by type, by size, by age. The Hubble sequence, often called the tuning fork diagram, groups them into families: ellipticals, spirals, barred spirals, lenticulars. It gives us a language, a way to speak of the cosmos. But the universe does not always obey our labels. Some galaxies fall between categories, some change over time, some defy the fork entirely, laughing softly in their irregularity. And that's the beauty of it, that the cosmos doesn't strive for uniformity. It doesn't demand order. It allows for diversity in shape, in motion, in story. It allows galaxies to evolve, to stumble, to begin again. It makes room for the grand and the quiet, the structured and the scattered. Even within a single galaxy, shapes are layered. The disk of a spiral, the bulge at its center, the halo of stars that extends far beyond. These are not boundaries, but gradients, transitions from one rhythm to another. The halo is often invisible, filled with old stars, dim globular clusters, and dark matter. It's a reminder that what we see is only part of the picture, that beneath the bright spirals and glowing cores lies a deeper, quieter architecture. Sometimes, faint streams of stars arc across space, the remnants of dwarf galaxies consumed long ago. These tidal streams are like scars, beautiful ghostly trails that trace the memory of movement. They show that galaxies grow not just by forming stars, but by gathering others. They are collectors, curators of starlight, building themselves from pieces of the universe they pass through. Even our Milky Way has such scars. The Sagittarius dwarf galaxy is in the process of being pulled apart, its stars smeared across the sky. One day, they will be part of us, indistinguishable from the rest, and we will be larger, fuller, shaped not just by our own stars, but by those we've welcomed. In this way, a galaxy is never truly finished. It is always in flux, always responding to its surroundings. Its shape is a moment, not a conclusion. It is a snapshot in the long, slow drift of becoming. So when you look at a picture of a galaxy, whether it's the grand swirl of Andromeda or the strange asymmetry of an irregular dwarf, know that you are seeing a life in progress, a being shaped by gravity, by motion, by memory. You are seeing not perfection, but presence, not finality, but flow. And perhaps that's a comfort, that even the most beautiful forms in the universe are not static, that they have been twisted, pulled, reshaped by what they've encountered, that their light is not the light of flawless symmetry, but of resilience. Tonight, as your breath slows and your eyes begin to close, think of galaxies not as distant things, but as companions. Each one a poem written in motion, each one a body shaped by time, each one a reminder that form is not fixed and that beauty often lies in what we've been through. You are not separate from that story. You are its continuation, a thread in the same great tapestry. And somewhere, out in the dark, galaxies continue to stretch and spin, changing shape without ever losing grace. Galaxies do not float alone. Though space seems vast and empty, and though the distance between stars is already enormous, galaxies are part of something even greater, a structure so immense and delicate it can't be seen directly, only inferred, like the skeleton of a cloud or the breath of a forest. They are beads on invisible threads, nodes in a cosmic lacework. From a great enough distance, from a perspective we'll never reach, the universe would not look random. It would look like a web. This is the cosmic web, a vast three-dimensional tapestry of matter and light, stretched across the universe like strands of silk. Galaxies lie along these filaments, connected by gravity, stitched together by dark matter. Between the threads are vast voids, empty bubbles of space, darker and lonelier than we can easily imagine. But along the filaments, matter flows, gas flows, light flows, and galaxies, born in these denser regions, drift like tiny seeds on the currents of time. It began, as most things do, with gravity. After the Big Bang, as the early universe expanded and cooled, small ripples in the density of matter grew under their own pull. Denser regions became denser still, not just in isolated clumps, but along sheets and lines. These patterns echoed through space, forming the backbone of what would become the large-scale structure. The web we now imagine was already being spun, even when the first atoms were barely formed. Over time, matter gathered along these filaments. Gas flowed inward like dew, collecting in valleys. Galaxies formed where the threads intersected, at nodes, places of convergence, where many streams of matter met. These intersections became clusters of galaxies, some containing hundreds or thousands of them, all bound together by mutual gravity. Our own Milky Way is part of such a structure. It lies in the outskirts of the Virgo supercluster, which itself is part of an even grander region called Laniakea, Hawaiian for immeasurable heaven. Laniakea contains over 100,000 galaxies, all moving not randomly, but as part of a shared flow. Like leaves on a slow river, they drift along gravitational currents shaped by the web of matter beneath them. But the threads themselves are not made of stars. They are built from something far more elusive, dark matter. This invisible substance, which does not emit or absorb light, makes up most of the matter in the universe. Though we cannot see it, we can feel its effects. It provides the scaffolding upon which the visible universe is hung. Without it, galaxies would never have gathered. Without it, the web would unravel. Simulations of the universe, run on supercomputers over months and years, reveal this web in haunting detail. They start with the physics of gravity and the known conditions of the early universe, and they let time unfold. What emerges is breathtaking, a spider's lace spun across billions of light years, with galaxies forming at the densest junctions, the threads glowing with a slow pulse of movement and growth. There is a rhythm to it, a kind of pulse. Gas flows along the filaments, feeding galaxies like nutrients traveling through a plant's roots. This cosmic inflow helps galaxies grow, even long after their initial formation. It brings in fresh material for star formation, renews their glow, keeps their structures alive. The web is not just a structure, it's a system, a living framework that continues to shape galaxies, not from within, but from without. And then there are the voids, those vast regions of near nothingness that lie between the filaments. They are not empty in the absolute sense, but they are quiet, dim, sparse. Few galaxies live there. The matter is too thin, gravity too weak. In these regions, time seems to slow. Galaxies that drift into the void may age alone, cut off from the nourishing filaments. They become fossil galaxies, remnants of a more connected time, glowing faintly in the silence. It's easy to feel small when thinking of these scales. A single galaxy is already massive, a collection of stars beyond counting. But to realize that galaxies themselves are mere dots on a larger structure, that even the Milky Way is only a speck on a cosmic thread, can be overwhelming. And yet, there is comfort here too, because the pattern is beautiful, it is intricate, it is shared. You are not just part of a galaxy, you are part of a thread, a stream, a connection that spans the universe. The atoms in your body were carried here not just through stars, but through the flows of the cosmic web itself. You are made of stardust, yes, but you are also made of the web. You are part of the map, written not in ink, but in motion. And though you can't see the web in the night sky, you can feel its presence in the patterns of galaxies, in the flows of clusters, in the quiet regularity of large-scale structure. Every time a telescope looks deep into space and maps the positions of galaxies, it traces those threads. It sketches the ghostly architecture that holds everything together. There is no single center, no axis or up or down. The web is not hierarchical. It's more like a forest, sprawling and intricate, where every part supports the rest. Some galaxies live in crowded intersections, some on quiet branches, but all are connected, so all belong. As the universe continues to expand, those structures stretch, but they don't break. Gravity still binds the local threads. Galaxies still drift together in shared motion. Over trillions of years, some regions will grow quieter, more isolated, but the web will remain, a fossil of the early universe, preserved in the placement of stars and the paths of light. So as you lie there, wrapped in the hush of your own orbit, imagine the web, not as something distant, but as something you're resting upon, a strand beneath your thoughts, a thread beneath your dreams. You are part of the structure. You are not apart from it. Every breath you take is stitched into the same fabric that holds the galaxies in their flowing dance. And somewhere, across a filament of dark matter, another galaxy turns, quietly, unaware of its reflection in you. Inside every galaxy, nestled between the curling arms and drifting clouds, there are places where the silence tightens, where gas cools and gathers, where something invisible begins to stir. These are not just patches of space, they are nurseries. Quiet corners where stars are born, not all at once, but in clusters, in waves, in bursts of warmth that punctuate the cold. Star formation is not sudden. It doesn't roar into being. It starts with stillness, with vast clouds of hydrogen called molecular clouds that drift like ghosts through a galaxy's disk. They are cold, far colder than anything you've ever felt, hundreds of degrees below zero. But that cold is essential. It lets the gas settle, lets it hold together. In warmth, atoms move too quickly, pushing each other away. But in the cold seas, they cling. These clouds are enormous, hundreds of light years across, and yet from afar they look like shadows. Nebulae, the dark veins in the bright tapestry of the Milky Way. Within them, over time, gravity begins to pull, not evenly, not all at once, but in pockets. Denser regions draw in more gas, collapsing inward until pressure and temperature rise high enough to ignite nuclear fusion. A star is born, not in fire, but in light, and rarely do they come alone. Stars tend to be born in families, in clusters, dozens, hundreds, sometimes thousands at once. They push against each other with light and wind, carving bubbles and filaments in the cloud that birthed them. Their radiation clears away the remaining gas, creating glowing sculptures of dust and light. This is how we get the pillars of creation, the Orion Nebula, the Carina Nebula, places where stars emerge from billowing shapes, like flames frozen in slow motion. The youngest stars are hot and blue, burning fast. They live for only millions of years, brief by cosmic standards. Their light is intense, their lives turbulent. They carve their surroundings with ultraviolet light, their winds pushing back the darkness. But alongside them, lower mass stars are born, cooler and longer lived, destined to shine for billions of years. Our own sun was once such a child, born in a stellar nursery long ago, perhaps alongside hundreds of siblings, most of whom have since scattered across the galaxy. Over time, these young stars drift apart. Their cluster dissolves, spread by gravity and the motion of the galaxy itself. Each star becomes a wanderer, a solitary note in the music of the galaxy. But they never forget their origins. Astronomers can still trace chemical fingerprints, matching stars that were born from the same cloud, even if they are now light years apart. It's like recognizing distant relatives by a shared melody in their bones. Galaxies rich in gas continue to birth stars, generation after generation. Spirals are especially active. Their arms are full of molecular clouds, stirred by the density waves that move through the disk. Every spiral is alive with potential, its arms twinkling not just with stars, but with stars in the making. But this process isn't endless. Star formation consumes gas, and as the gas is used up or expelled by powerful events like supernovae or black hole jets, the rate of star formation slows. Some galaxies are still rich in cold gas, birthing stars even now. Others are quiet, their reservoirs gone, their lights fading with age. We call them quiescent galaxies, and they glow with the warm light of old stars, calm and still. The process of star formation also gives galaxies their color. Young stars are blue, and galaxies full of star birth glow in cool tones, like sapphire fires in space. Older galaxies, with no new stars, shine in redder light, the color of age, of settled motion, of stars nearing the end of their lives. A galaxy's palette is a portrait of its heart rate, its history, its breath. And yet, even in galaxies where star formation has quieted, remnants of those ancient nurseries remain. Dust lanes curl through their cores. Clusters of old stars still orbit in harmony. The past is never erased. It simply becomes part of the pattern. Sometimes, star formation is triggered anew by the passage of a spiral arm, by the merger with another galaxy, or even by the gentle nudge of a nearby companion. These moments spark new generations, new clusters, new constellations. They're like rain after drought, like music after silence. Galaxies don't just fade, they renew. And when a star is born, it carries more than light. Around it, a disk of gas and dust spins, thin and wide, filled with possibilities. Over time, that disk can coalesce into planets, small rocks, gas giants, icy bodies, moons, rings, oceans. One of those stars, somewhere in a quiet arm of the Milky Way, gave rise to a planet we now call home, one where molecules danced into life, where time shaped thought, where we look back at the stars and wonder where we began. In this way, galaxies are more than collections of stars. They are gardens. They sow and reap, grow and rest. They are the engines of light, but also of complexity. In their hearts, the ingredients of life are born: carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, forged in stars, scattered by explosions, gathered again in new clouds, new stars, new planets. You are part of that cycle. The iron in your blood was formed in a star, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen you breathe. All were made in the hearts of suns, and those suns were born in galaxies, from clouds gathered by gravity, cooled by time, and lit by fusion. You carry stardust not as a metaphor, but as a fact. And so, when you lie beneath the stars, or close your eyes and drift into sleep, you are not separate from the galaxies. You are their expression, their whisper, their continuation. In your quiet breath is the same hydrogen that once flowed through nebulae. In your heart is the same rhythm that pulses through the spiral arms. Let yourself rest in that truth, that you were born of stars, that galaxies are not distant, they are within you as you are within them. Let their slow, gentle process of creation rock you like the waves of time. Let the stars you carry inside you settle for the night. Somewhere out there, new ones are still being born, glowing quietly in the folds of gas and shadow. Not all galaxies stay young forever. Like the fire of a camp that slowly dies into embers, galaxies change as time moves on, their bright beginnings softening into quiet memory. The starry birthplaces that once pulsed with light grow still. The spiraling arms that once glittered with newborn suns begin to dim. And yet, there is no sadness in this, no sharp end, just a slow exhale, a gentle settling into something quieter, older, and just as full of meaning. Every star that forms consumes a little of the galaxy's gas. Like breaths in a long life, they add up over time. The brightest stars burn through their fuel quickly, and while they give much, they also end dramatically, often exploding in supernovas that stir and heat the surrounding gas. The smaller stars live longer, flickering gently for billions of years, but they too are part of the slow burn. And as the reservoir of cold gas dwindles, the galaxy's ability to form new stars begins to fade. Some galaxies can replenish this gas, drawing in fresh material from their surroundings, from the cosmic web, from passing clouds. But others become cut off, especially those in dense clusters, where the gravitational pull of neighbors and the hot halo of surrounding gas strip away their fuel. These galaxies become like lanterns with no oil left to burn. They do not go dark, so not yet. Their older stars still shine, but there is no new light being born. They begin to age. We call this quenching. the gradual halting of star formation, and it marks a quiet turning point in a galaxy's life. Spirals may fade, their arms becoming ghostly. The dust lanes thin, the blue light of youth gives way to the softer glow of red giants. Ellipticals, which are often formed through mergers, tend to be quenched already, puffy with stars, but empty of the cold gas needed to make more. Their story is no less important, only different. A slower rhythm, a deeper tone, and yet, even in these aging galaxies, there is movement. Stars continue their orbits. Black holes may still stir in the center, sometimes flaring to life when a stray gas cloud drifts too close. Binary stars may draw near, one feeding off the other. Novae may flicker. Globular clusters may drift through the halo like ancient bees among fading blooms. Galaxies never truly stop. They change. They remember. Sometimes a spark returns, a collision, a flyby, a small galaxy falling in. These can shake up the system, bring in new gas, awaken new waves of star formation. The galaxy flickers back to life, even if only for a while. It's like a forgotten song that plays softly again, briefly coloring the quiet. And then, when the music fades, the galaxy returns to its rest, a little fuller, a little more complex than before. These quiet transformations mirror something familiar: the way lives change pace, the way a place can grow still and yet never be truly empty, the way warmth remains even after the fire is gone. Galaxies remind us that evolution doesn't always mean growth. Sometimes it means settling. Sometimes it means holding. In their later stages, galaxies carry the full history of what came before. Their stars hold chemical fingerprints that tell of the times they were born. Early stars are simpler, formed before heavier elements were abundant. Later ones are richer, more complex, born from gas that has been stirred and seeded by generations of supernovae. A galaxy's stars are its library, its archive, each one a page of time, glowing faintly in the dark. And those older stars have stories of their own: red giants swilling in the final phase of life, white dwarfs, the dense remains of sun-like stars, cooling slowly over eons, pulsars, spinning beacons from collapsed stars, flickering with perfect regularity, black holes, small and silent, moving invisibly through the dark. The galaxy becomes a resting place for these remnants, not forgotten, but carried like fossils of light. Some galaxies carry scars, shells and ripples that ripple across their halos, evidence of past mergers. Tidal tails extending into space like trails of memory. Streams of stars from smaller galaxies, long absorbed. These features fade over time, smoothed by motion, but they never vanish entirely. The galaxy remembers its collisions. It wears them like wrinkles, like rings in a tree, like echoes in a stone. Even color tells a story. Astronomers often speak of the red sequence and the blue cloud, broad populations of galaxies sorted by their color. Blue galaxies are active, rich in gas, forming stars. Red ones are quiescent, settled, composed mostly of older stars. Between them lies the Green Valley, a transitional space where galaxies are in the process of change. It is not a place of failure, but of evolution, a journey from one rhythm to another. And so galaxies shift, slowly, softly. They grow not just in size, but in depth, in complexity, in memory. A young galaxy is beautiful, yes, radiant and alive. But an old galaxy carries a different kind of grace, the kind that comes with having witnessed time, the kind that glows, not from brightness, but from presence. Our own Milky Way still forms stars, slowly, steadily. It is not yet quiet, not yet red, but it carries the signs of age, scars from past mergers, a central bulge filled with older stars, a halo scattered with remnants. It too is evolving, and in billions of years, it may settle into something rounder, calmer, or more still. That doesn't diminish it, it completes it. And you, resting now in the curve of one of its arms, are part of that story. The atoms in your body were once in stars, and those stars were once in clouds, and those clouds were once in the breath of the galaxy itself. You carry inside you the evolution of the cosmos, not just in matter, but in rhythm, in the way you change, in the way you grow and pause and grow again. So let yourself rest, not in ending, but in transformation. The night sky is filled with galaxies that have quieted, but they are not gone. They drift, they hold, they remember, and in the hush between their stars, something continues, a presence, a glow, a waiting, and sleep now in that same glow. Let your thoughts settle like stars into halos, like dust into quiet spirals. The galaxy turns, the stars dim, and in the distance, something new begins to stir. When you look up at the night sky from some quiet place, far from city lights, far from noise, far from time itself, you might notice a band of soft, smoky light stretching from one side of the heavens to the other. Not a beam, not a spotlight, but a quiet glow, like breath across glass or a ribbon woven from powdered stars. This is the Milky Way, seen from within, from one of its arms, like seeing the inside of a cathedral while standing beneath a dome. You are not outside looking in. You are inside, drifting gently in the curve of its light. Our galaxy is vast, so vast that even the word home feels too small. A barred spiral with arms unfurling like time-lapse petals. Roughly 100,000 light years across, containing hundreds of billions of stars, clouds of gas, lanes of dust, rivers of light, and the long, soft pull of dark matter curling around it like invisible hands. And somewhere, about halfway out from the center, in a quiet little pocket of one of those arms, floats our solar system, a pale dot inside a grand swirl, turning slowly with the rest. The arm we're in is called the Orion Arm, not one of the grandest, not one of the brightest, but enough. It's a spur, a minor branch between the Sagittarius and Perseus arms, like a winding path between two ancient roads. And it is here, in this quiet swirl, that our sun formed, some 4.5 billion years ago, from a collapsing cloud enriched by the ashes of long dead stars. It's easy to forget that the sun is a star, one among hundreds of billions in the Milky Way. It feels close, special, personal, and in a way it is. It is the one star whose light falls through your window in the morning, whose gravity holds your world in place, whose warmth has touched every breath you've ever taken. And yet, from the galaxy's point of view, it is an ordinary thing, a G-type main sequence star, one thread in the cloth, one candle in the chandelier. But that is what makes the galaxy beautiful, that it is built from ordinary things, that its grandeur comes not from a few rare jewels, but from the collective light of countless simple stars, each playing its part. From afar, the Milky Way is a glowing river. From within, it is a quiet sea, where suns drift like boats under an invisible tide. The center of the Milky Way, hidden by thick lanes of dust, is a crowded place. The galactic bulge, packed with stars, swirling with energy, is home to older populations of stars, and at its very heart, to the sleeping giant we call Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole that anchors the galaxy, quiet now, but occasionally flaring when a bit of gas dares wander too close. Around it, stars orbit at dizzying speeds, moving in tight, fast loops, silent dancers around an invisible flame. From the bulge, the spiral arms extend outward, filled with dust and gas and new stars. These arms are not rigid. They flex, twist, flutter, shaped by gravity, stirred by time, like threads of silk caught in a breeze. The arms are where stars are born, where clusters shine, where planetary systems take their first breath. They are the living skin of the galaxy, always in motion, always forming, always dissolving. Beyond the arms lies the halo, a spherical cloud of old stars, globular clusters, and dark matter stretching far beyond the disk. The halo is ancient. Its stars were born in the first epochs, long before the sun, long before Earth. They orbit in long, slow paths, some taking hundreds of millions of years to complete a single circuit. They carry with them the memory of the galaxy's formation, remnants of smaller galaxies long absorbed, fragments of forgotten spirals, as now wrapped in the quiet fabric of the halo. And the Milky Way itself is not alone. It is surrounded by companions, dozens of small satellite galaxies that orbit like moons, some trailing long streams of stars behind them, the shredded remnants of their structure dissolving into the larger host. The Magellanic Clouds, visible from the southern hemisphere, are two of the largest, still intact, still holding their shape, but gradually giving in to the gravitational pull of our galaxy. They will one day be absorbed, their stars added to our own. In every direction, the Milky Way is both a gathering and a letting go. Stars form, stars die, clouds collapse, and others are torn apart. Matter flows inwards and outward, spiraling in soft tides, balancing creation and erosion. And through it all, the galaxy turns, slowly, gracefully. One full rotation takes about 220 million years, long enough for dinosaurs to rise and fall, for continents to shift, for oceans to breathe in and out. We are passengers on a journey that began long before us and will continue long after. And yet, it feels close, personal, perhaps because we've never known another. This is the galaxy that gave rise to our sun, to our earth, to the very idea of thought. It is our womb, our ocean, our forest of stars. When we look into its heart, we are looking backward, through dust, through light, through memory. You might think of it as a ship sailing slowly through the sea of space, its sails made of spiral arms, its hull packed with the living and the lost. Or perhaps it is a city, lit not by lamps, but by suns, each window glowing with its own rhythm, its own pulse. Or maybe it's a garden, wild, overgrown, ever changing, where stars bloom and fade like flowers, and planets take root like quiet seeds. And here you are, a small spark, drifting in one of its petals, listening to its rhythm without realizing it. Your days marked by the turning of one planet, your years shaped by one star. But your life, your matter, your thought, all held gently in the great turning of the Milky Way. As you lie still, breath softening, heart slowing, imagine the galaxy turning around you, not quickly, not with sound, but with the deep quiet of something that knows no hurry. Imagine its arms curling, carrying you gently with them. You are not separate from this motion. You are part of it. The dust in your lungs once wrote a star. The calcium in your bones was forged in a core. The warmth in your chest was passed from atom to atom through time. Let that warmth hold you now. Let the slow, silent spin of the galaxy cradle your thoughts. The Milky Way turns. You turn with it, and everything is exactly where it needs to be. Far out beyond the edge of our spiral arms, across the vast black space that stretches between galaxies, something is coming. It does not rush, it does not roar. It moves with the unhurried grace of time itself, a soft drift, almost imperceptible, like the slow closing of a great cosmic eyelid, but it is coming. The Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest large neighbor, is moving toward us, drawn by the invisible thread of gravity that has linked us since before we had names for stars. Andromeda is magnificent, a barred spiral like our own, a little larger, a little brighter, its arms stretched in quiet arcs, its center glowing with the same kind of ancient patience. It lies about 2.5 million light years from us, far beyond our own stars, far beyond the Magellanic Clouds, and yet close, astronomically speaking. So close, in fact, that it's visible to the naked eye on dark, moonless nights, a faint smudge suspended just beyond reach. For centuries, we mistook it for a cloud, a patch of mist. But it is not mist. It is a galaxy, spinning like ours, alive with stars and dust and history, and it is heading straight for us. But this is no impending collision in the way we understand the word. Galaxies do not crash like cars. They do not strike and shatter. They pass through each other, stars mostly missing, clouds gently merging. It is not violence, but a dance, one that unfolds over billions of years, with long, slow movements and unhurried steps. The Milky Way and Andromeda are falling together. Not fast, not dangerously, but inevitably, bound by gravity, by shared motion, by the quiet law that all things with mass must pull on all other things. In about 4 billion years, they will begin to merge, slowly, softly. Their halos will touch first, thin, faint clouds of stars reaching across the void. Then their disks will pass through one another, warping, stretching, sending waves of motion rippling through both galaxies. Spiral arms will be tugged and twisted. Gas clouds will collide and condense. New stars will be born in sudden bursts of light. Over time, the shapes we know, the spirals, the curves, the quiet distinction between and them, will dissolve. The galaxies will orbit each other in a tightening embrace, spinning faster, losing symmetry. Their black holes will drift inward, drawn by friction and gravitational waves, until eventually they meet and merge into one. The resulting galaxy will be larger, rounder, fuller, most likely an elliptical, glowing softly with the light of countless older stars and the warm haze of starbursts long faded. Astronomers already have a name for this future galaxy. Some call it Milkomeda, others Lactomeda. But perhaps it won't need a name. Perhaps it will simply be. And what of us? What of the stars, the planets, the fragile orbits that cradle life? By the time the merger begins, Earth as we know it will already be changed. The Sun, then nearly twice its current age, will have swelled into a red giant. Its light will grow hotter, its outer layers expanding, possibly engulfing the inner planets. If Earth still exists, it may be scorched, lifeless, quiet. But the stars will remain. Our sun will leave behind a white dwarf, a dense glowing ember, and that ember will continue to orbit the center of the merging galaxies for eons. The night sky, if any eyes are left to see it, will look very different. Over generations, Andromeda will grow brighter, larger, spreading its arms across the heavens until it fills the sky. Then the stars of both galaxies will mingle, scattering familiar constellations, painting a new sky with new patterns. And through it all, the galaxies will keep turning, their lights woven together, their stories fused. This is not a disaster. It is not an end. It is a continuation. Galaxies grow by merging. It is how they evolve. The Milky Way was shaped by past mergers and will be shaped again by this one. It is a cycle, not a catastrophe, a symphony, not a scream. There's something comforting in that even on the grandest scales, change does not mean destruction. That identity can be fluid. The two vast structures, each with billions of stars, can come together, shift, and become something new. And that new thing will carry pieces of both, in shape, in motion, in memory. Andromeda has been moving toward us since before our sun existed. Its approach is not sudden, not new. It is part of the universe's rhythm, written into the paths of matter, into the expansion of space. And while space itself stretches outward, galaxies within local groups are still drawn together, still bound, still moving in slow spirals toward one another. This motion is not the result of chaos. It is the unfolding of gravity's long plan. And so, as you lie still beneath a sky that seems fixed, remember that even the stars are moving, that galaxies are never at rest, that Andromeda is out there drifting slowly into view, not with menace, but with grace. It will take time, time beyond our lifetimes. But it is happening, always has been. When you look into the sky and see that faint smudge, you are seeing the future, not just a galaxy, but a promise that nothing remains unchanged, that even the most distant lights are part of our story, that the cosmos is always reaching inward, always welcoming, always folding itself into deeper wholeness. There is no fear in this, only awe, only wonder. The universe is not falling apart, it is coming together. And you, drifting now into sleep, are part of that motion, gentle, slow, profound. The galaxies continue their approach, not as invaders, but as companions, and somewhere between them, in the space that narrows with each heartbeat of the stars, your thoughts drift too, quiet, weightless, and full of light. There is no edge to the sky, no wall, no curtain, just more stars, more silence, more distance, more time. Galaxies drift not toward a destination, but through a canvas that has no border. The universe does not end at the fingertips of a telescope. It keeps going, and so do the galaxies, like lanterns set adrift on an infinite sea, their glow growing fainter as they recede, but never truly vanishing. And even when the stars inside them burn out, even when the gas runs thin and the spiral arms unravel into mist, the galaxies remain. Not forever. Nothing is forever, but long enough to feel eternal, long enough to leave fingerprints on space itself, long enough that their light, though soft and slow, can still reach us across billions of years, lighting the back of your eyelids as you fall asleep, warming the shadows of your thoughts. Eventually, the universe will stretch so wide, so far, that galaxies beyond our local group will fade from view. Not because they go dark, but because space between us expands faster than their light can bridge. It's not that they're lost, it's that we'll no longer be able to see them. The night sky will change, grow emptier, quieter, and the Milky Way, or whatever it becomes after merging with Andromeda, will sail through the dark, an island of stars adrift in a sea grown cold and slow. But this drift is not loneliness. It is a kind of peace, a soft hum that continues beneath all endings. Even in the far future, long after the last star has flickered out, after the last white dwarf has cooled into darkness, galaxies will still move. Their stars may be cold, their light may be gone, but their mass will carry them forward, gliding, whispering, breathing through the silence, and within them, within the matter they shaped, within the elements they forged, life may rise again, or perhaps it already has, in places we'll never see. Perhaps somewhere, in another spiral tucked between filaments of dark matter, someone else is lying under their own sky, dreaming of galaxies, wondering where they come from, what they become, and whether they too are part of something bigger than themselves. The beauty of galaxies is not just that they shine, it's that they are always becoming, always shifting, always part of something larger. From the seeds of tiny density ripples to the spirals of stars that cradle planets, from the merging of giants to the long exhale of quiescent light. They are the universe's longest lullaby, sung in motion and gravity, told in color and curve. You have lived your entire life inside one. Every breath, every heartbeat, every thought. All of it unfolding on a small blue world, orbiting a small yellow star, nestled inside a gentle arm of a great galactic wheel. And that galaxy, in turn, is drifting through space, spinning softly in the company of others, shaping and being shaped, cradling the long, slow conversation of the cosmos. When you dream, your mind floats through that same space. Your neurons fire with atoms that once lived in stars. Your memories held by elements carried across eons. You are not just in the universe, you are of it, made from its breath, lit by its embers. So let the galaxies drift, let their spirals curl and fade, let them merge and melt and begin again. You don't need to hold on. You don't need to know the destination. You are already in motion, carried by the same currents, resting on the same invisible threads. And as you lie there now, eyes closed, world quiet, know this: the cosmos continues. Galaxies are still being born, still colliding, still singing their silent stories into the dark. You can sleep, and the universe will keep turning. You can dream, and the galaxies will keep drifting.